So, have I ever told you guys that I like The Simpsons? I don't think I need to tell you about The Simpsons at this point. We all know about the Tracy Ullman shorts, the amount of memorable quotes, episodes, and characters, and how it impacted Fox and animation for all studios. Plus all the memes and fan groups, including me, who runs the Out of Context Simpsons Couch Guy account on Twitter. Fox would keep the animated series going with Family Guy, King of the Hill, Bob's Burgers, Futurama, and many more, as well as other studios who dipped their toes into it, like Viacom with Beavis and Butthead and Daria for MTV, and South Park for Comedy Central, or Warner Brothers with the entire Adult Swim brand, like with Aqua Team Hunger Force, Rick and Morty, Space Coast Coast to Coast, and much more. And the moment it became a success to Fox, they would expand into other media outside of TV, such as video games, comics, music albums, and all of the merchandise you can think of. Toys, clothing, plushies, cups, board games, Funko Pops, and even Homer slippers. Just in case you always wanted Homer to suck on your feet. Dirty feet. And of course, the Simpson family and Springfield would get their own theatrical debut with their own movie, released in theaters in July 27th in 2007. Yes, it means the movie is now 15 years old. God, that makes me feel so old, like, holy crap. And while the film was loved by critics and fans, it grossed over $536 million worldwide out of a budget of $75 million. It went through a lot of development hell, with scrap plots, different guest stars, characters being removed from the final film, characters being rewritten or redesigned, and a load of deleted scenes, as well working on the show with 5 seasons at the same time. It's surprising that no one made a documentary about this film's production. So, to celebrate the film's 15th anniversary, let's revisit the Simpsons movie. What it went through for 18 years, has the film held up since its release, how has the show continued and referenced the film, and its future with a sequel and shorts with Disney's ownership. Now, let's start from the beginning, and I mean the beginning, like 1989 wise. The idea of a movie based off The Simpsons was there since the beginning of the series, as Matt Groening felt like it would allow them to increase the show's scale and animation sequences that would have been too complex for the TV series. But the main problem the film dealt with in production was finding a story that would fit with the film's length, as well of working on the show full time around the same time. Something that most movies based off shows tend not to do. Films such as the SpongeBob movies or Beavis and Butthead Do America usually have the crew put the show on hiatus until the film's finished. Camp Krusty was planned to be the film's plot, however the writers couldn't find a way to expand it into 80 minutes, then 22. So it later went to being the season premiere for season 4. A parody of Fantasia was also being talked about called Simptasia, which Groening wished to make it happen, but it never really did, due to being it difficult to write a feature-length script like that. There was even suggestions to make an anthology-style Treehouse of Horror movie, but such a suggestion was never really pursued. Which, I don't know if anyone else thinks about it, but given how we have up to 30 plus Treehouse of Horror episodes, it could have worked, maybe not in theaters, but definitely for more of a DVD or nowadays streaming movie. And there was another attempt, but it didn't even feature The Simpsons or was going to be animated. Instead, it was going to be in live action with the recurring guest character Troy McClure as the main character. Troy's voice actor, Phil Hartman, who also voices the lawyer Lionel Huntz within the first 10 seasons, wished to make it happen, with several members of the staff wanting it to be a thing. The film's plot was going to use the Troy McClure spotlight episode A Fish Called Selma as Joe Weinstein proposed the idea. Phil was beyond excited to make it possible, even planned to buy the film rights himself to make it happen. Sadly, however, the project never came to life, as it was cancelled after Phil Hartman was murdered by his wife in 1998. Since then, after the season 10 episode, Bart the Mother, Troy McClure and Lionel Huntz were retired from the show, only making very select non-speaking cameos since then. In 1997, 20th Century Fox greenlit the film, with Matt and James L. Brooks set to be the producers, and in 2001, the voice cast signed into the movie. However, this still wasn't the end of deciding what plot would the film have.
In 2007, leaping his way onto the silver screen, the greatest hero in American history.
I forgot what I was supposed to say!
The Simpsons Movie, opening worldwide July 27th, 2007.
Uh-oh, we better get started.
Excellent.
Mike Scully wanted it to have Steven Spielberg, who they were hoping to get him to voice himself in the film, would try to blow up Springfield so he can shoot a film with Tom Hanks. Al Jean wanted the film to be about the family saving manatees. While never picked for the film, it was later changed into an episode of the show with the season 17 premiere episode, The Bonfire of the Manatees. And there was a Truman Show type of plot where the characters discovered their lives were in a TV show. Groening, however, rejected this because he felt like the Simpsons should never be aware of themselves as celebrities. However, the 2007 EA game, The Simpsons Game, would use this plot instead, just with the family discovering they're in a video game than in a show instead. Eventually, the crew finally got their plot, as Groening read about a town that had to get rid of pig feces in the water supply, though there would still be some changes during production. Like at one point it was going to be a musical, but they kept lowering the amount of the songs until they decided to drop it altogether. With a plot, now it's on to the voice cast, the different guest stars and characters that were added or removed during production. While we got the main 6 cast members and the semi-regular performers Dresden Emile, Pamela Hanma, Maurice Wallace, Maggie Oswald, Rusty Taylor, and Carl Wienskog, the guest stars changed throughout the film, and some recurring characters and the roles being changed. While we did get Joe Mantegna returning as Fat Tony, we also had Albert Brooks returning to voice a character after he wanted to be a part of the film. Brooks was planned to return as Hank Scorpio, a well-loved character he voiced in the episode You Only Move Twice, but it was later changed into a new character called Russ Cargill. And while we would later get Tom Hanks who would accept an offer to be in the film from a single phone call, we also got the creator of Everyone Loves Raymond, Phil Waldthal, who did the voice of the father in the new Grand Canyon commercial. There were a lot of guest stars that couldn't appear in the film. Minnie Driver recorded the part of a grievance counselor in the scene. Edward Norton recorded the part of the man who gets crushed as the dome is dropped onto Springfield, performing a Woody Allen impression. However, the crew felt like the voice was too distracting, so Dan Castellaneta re-recorded Norton's dialogue with a different voice. Eric Fisher and Eric Bullrich also voiced cameos where Johnny Knoxville was planned to be a guest star in the film. Even Kelsey Grammer recorded lines for Sideshow Bob, who was set to appear several points in the film, but was cut, which, that part, I'm the most upset about. And that's still not all of it. We also had Kang and Kodos appear at the end credits, where they would mock the movie and the crew a lot, similar to the credits of The Simpsons Hit and Run game.
That guy deserves such a probing. Who are these people? I never saw them during production.
They implement torture and punishment. The other drones scuttle and run at their approach.
What is the difference between an associate producer and a producer anyway?
If you ask me, these humans spent too much time exchanging long protein strands with one another.
But that was cut. Despite that, however, Kang was still listed in the end credits. Originally, Marge was meant to have the vision in the church. However, the writers thought this would have been too dark, so it was later changed to Grandpa. The role of Lisa's love interest, Colin, was frequently revised. He was previously named Dexter and Arian, and his appearance was completely altered a lot of the times. It was even planned at one point to have Milhouse as Lisa's love interest. However, the writers realized the audience wasn't as familiar with his long-standing crush on Lisa as they thought. Our car chase that would have Homer throw flaming mummies out of a truck at the EPA was replaced with a more emotional and realistic scenes at the motel and carnival that allowed for a change of pace. Ross Cargill was redesigned several times, originally appearing as an older man whose speech patterns Albert Brooks based on Ronald Wonson. The older model, however, was used in one of the Burger King action figure toys, and was featured on the deleted scene on the DVD, including Homer's encounter with a sausage truck driver, a scene of Plopper the pig at the end, and a news report showing the dome's effect on the daily lives of Springfield in areas such as farming and sports. So yeah, the film has been through a lot since of 1998, that it's a miracle the film was even finished, but it was worth it in the end with the positive reviews and big box office numbers. But now that it's been 15 years, has the film aged well since its release, and how does it stand nowadays after 15 seasons later? Now, before I comment with my opinion, I wanted to see the different opinions from a lot of people using my Simpsons Couch Guy account on Twitter. I posted this tweet, and this is what I got from you guys. From Knights108, from what it's worth, I think the film is pretty good. Like, it's not perfect. The Colin x Lisa stuff felt like a random bad season 18 episode, but given the time it was released, it's about as good as it could be, and I'm thankful for that. From Wiley the Fat and Spooky, I think it holds up pretty well over time. I think it has the best animation of the entire span of the show. The main criticism people have for it are about missed opportunities, which is fair, but I do think what we got was special. I might have scrapped the Alaska stuff though. Hank Scorpio or Burns should have been the villains. They were worried that new viewers wouldn't know who Scorpio was, but I don't think it would have mattered. Bob's Burgers did this very well with its villain. They should have had more confidence in its audience. I think they hit the emotional beats very well, and the shot of Marge and Homer riding off at the distance is gorgeous and iconic. David Silverman is a master, and the movie is a total flex of his muscles. From Yuvi Rathor, I think that's how you pronounce it. Sorry there, Yuvi. I think the film managed to change everything for The Simpsons. Some of those moments in the film were quite amusing to look back on, like where Homer dares Bart to skateboard through Springfield naked. I also love the emotional aspect with Marge moving away from Homer. Overall, I'd say the film did quite well in being one of the most memorable Simpsons material in the show's history. From Gabe, the film still holds up as being an enjoyable experience that appeals to Simpsons fans and those who are not. It also shaped how current Simpsons look. From a Smell Man, I always thought the film was a tad overrated, but it is still enjoyable. Always been a big fan of Plopper, as well as the portion of the movie where the Simpsons go to Alaska. While it still has its flaws, it's good for what it is. From Sea Spar Dinner, I really loved the movie when I watched it in cinemas back in 2007. After I had it for Christmas on DVD, I've been re-watching it ever since. One of the most hilarious movies I ever watched. And personally, it still holds up, despite the 2008 imagery in this movie. From Gonza, every time I watch it, it gets better to me. It has so many iconic moments and a true heartfelt story that it's so hard not to love. One of my favorite pieces of media that comes out of The Simpsons. From Felix Gutstill, I think the film should have ended on this. It would have capped things off on a high note. From Nedochecks, From Ninojax, I think honestly this film is super funny. I could not stop laughing during the comedy bits. Even it's kinda dirty and the humor in the film was insanely fantastic. The action scenes in this as well, I would definitely give this film a watch when you have watched The Simpsons for the first time. From Cynics, the Simpsons movie opening night was a ton of fun. Fans as far as the end of the line, constant laughter except for the sentimental video recording from Marge, excited conversations after it ended, good times. I usually watch it once a year. It still holds up. From Darren, it's probably everything you could ask for as a Simpsons fan. Julia Garner's performance in that one scene is wonderful, and the jokes land almost every time. It's in my top 50 favorite movies ever. From Ryan Siegel, the older I got, the better the good bits have become, and the worse the bad bits become. Example, Homer being dismantled by the trees has gotten funnier, and the Lisa and Colin stuff has become more boring. It showed the show on a decline, however, that is still in. From Crispy Crunchy, I'm not much of an avid Simpsons fan, but I loved this movie ever since I first saw it a few years back. From what I've seen of the older seasons, the movie is true to the show and it's absolutely wonderful. I think it's just as good as other cartoon movies, if not a bit better. From Kyle W789, holds up pretty well even for today. Still get a good chuckle here and there, but due to me having a very good memory when it comes to the dialogue and media, I love I can't get a huge ass laugh out. Still want a theatrical re-release, as I was only able to experience it through DVD or TV. Afterlife said, to be honest, it should have been the serviceable ending to the entire series. Also the best scene from the movie is probably Julia Garner's best performance as Marge. Tabby says, literally just watched it the other day and it's aged surprisingly well. It's definitely just 4 Simpsons episodes and a trench coat, but for what it's worth, I was laughing through most of it. Husband and I spent most of the time calling out scenes we remember from the commercials. For Mark Myler, I really wish we could have had a chance to see more of the other characters outside of the Simpsons family. I remember seeing somewhere Sideshow Bob was supposed to appear and Ira Fisher was supposed to voice someone. Not sure who though, since I'm pretty sure they scrapped it. TYC Miller says, the movie felt rather paced at a part where Homer exits his temporary home in Alaska to find his family. Maybe it's just me though. Also, I kinda wanted to see what would happen to the guy who got squished by the dome. Heh. And the J-Man Force 9 says, I haven't watched the film in a long time, so my exact memories are a bit foggy. However, I was absolutely hooked onto it for its humor, build-up, and character development. Most people find him annoying due to saturation, but Spider-Pig was honestly the highlight for me, lol. So it seems like people still enjoy it and think it has aged well since 2007. Some even argue this should be the finale to the series like other movies based off TV shows tend to do. But like SpongeBob, South Park, and to a lesser extent, Rugrats, the series kept going after the film. If you ask me if this would have been a good finale to the series, I honestly don't think it would. Compared to the first SpongeBob movie, that could have worked as the finale because it was written to be the end. Given how that ended with SpongeBob getting what he wanted and enjoying life afterwards, well, this has the usual ending for a movie based off a series where it returns back to normal and the show would keep going only with a few references in select episodes, which I'll go into later. Now, I would go into what I think of the film, but to be honest, I could make a whole video about my opinions on the film. It's that big, and this video is probably long enough as it is, so find me a Letterboxd. When you have a show that has lasted as long like The Simpsons, it's eventual to see it reference the movie afterwards. While I can't list all of them, I at least want to mention the main ones I have seen. The season 19 premiere episode had a full intro that took place after the events of the film, with the characters from it cameoing throughout. Ross Cargill appeared on a Facebook page in the Treehouse of Horror 27 during the Bob Kills Parts segment, and was supposed to appear in the opening of the next Treehouse of Horror, with Sideshow Bob, Frank Grimes, Kang or Kodos, and a Leprechaun, but was cut due to length issues. He was also going to appear in Sky Police, but he never appeared. The Medicine Woman appeared later in Boy Meets Cole, with her talking to Homer about paying her for the vision, which he gave the money to a tree in Springfield. And of course, there's Plopper. Besides of some blink and you miss it cameos, he appeared in the Real Housewives of Fat Tony for its B-plot about Lisa and Bart looking for some food, then getting paid by Luigi or something like that. Appeared during Maggie's part in Puffless, and was the main focus of Pork and Burns, with Homer trying to find a new home before dealing with Mr. Burns. And finally, in The Fool's Monty, after Burns gets his memory back and finds out what the citizens have done to him, he decides to get revenge and tries to pull the dome around town, only to be told that that has been done already and they could dig out of it, which points out a plot hole the film had. So while the show hasn't referenced the movie as much, it still gets plenty of nods within the years. Before we get to the planned sequel, The Simpsons did return to theaters a few times since the movie. In fact, 2 times, both in 2012 and 2020, in short film forms, with the main focus going to Maggie Simpson. The first short, The Longest Daycare, was released alongside with Ice Age Continental Drift from Fox and Blue Sky on July 13, 2012, and did get re-released in the US screenings of Life and Pi in 2013. The short's plot focuses on Maggie Simpson as she's enrolled to a new play care facility where she squares off with the foul-tempered baby Gerald when she befriends a caterpillar. It was well received by a lot of critics, with many of them saying it was better than the film was released in. It had its TV premiere with the season 24 episode Harkley Kirkling, and was on Fox's Animation Domination YouTube channel for 7 years until it was placed on Disney Plus later in 2020. It was also nominated for an Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film in 2013, but lost to Disney's Paperman, which again, ironic that they own the winner and the nominated short. And while there was a subplot in the season 27 episode Puffless that has Maggie trying to save a possum from getting eaten by Cletus with the help of other animals, including Spider-Pig, it wouldn't be until another 8 years when Maggie got another short all about her in theaters. However, it came out in an unfortunate time, and under by a new owner. Playdate with Destiny was released alongside with Onward from Disney and Pixar on March 6, 2020. The short's plot was about Maggie as she heads to the park, but when Maggie faces playground peril, a heroic young baby risks her from danger and steals her heart. While the reception on this short hasn't been revealed from critics, fans seem to enjoy it as much as the first short. I should add that this was the first time I watched anything from The Simpsons that's in theaters, so that was a great experience. However, not many people were able to see it in that way, as when Onward came out, it was during when COVID began to affect the world and cinemas were closed as a result, so Onward was pulled from theaters shortly afterwards, meaning the short was only seen by a select few who were able to see it. But it didn't take long for the short to go outside of theaters, as a month later it was added onto Disney Plus in April, and more likely where a lot of people watched it on than in cinemas. It could technically count as the first Simpsons product to be an exclusive to Disney Plus, as it hasn't appeared anywhere else. And the short was followed later up by the season 31 episode, The Incredible Lightness of Being a Baby. So hey, that's interesting, but that's still far from the end of the shorts. It's just the end of the theatrical shorts for now, as the crew felt comfortable releasing 4 different shorts on Disney Plus since 2021, that crosses over the series with Disney's IPs, such as Star Wars, Marvel, Disney, Pixar, and Billie Eilish, my favorite Disney property. While The Simpsons Movie did well, There hasn't been a sequel to the film since then besides the shorts. The main reason for this is all down to the production of the show. Again, most shows tend to have a hiatus whenever a movie is made, something the Simpsons movie never had, so the idea of having a sequel while the show was still in production was unlikely. It however doesn't stop fans from asking the crew per year of it happening every Comic-Con. However, James L. Brooks did say that in 2014, Fox requested a second movie, so Fox does have interest of doing it again. Then on December 2014, Al Jean revealed an episode that was set to premiere was considered to be the plot of a potential sequel from him and Brooks before deciding it would just be an episode of the series instead, like with Camp Krusty and the Bonfire of the Manatees. This would be Season 26's episode, The Man Who Came to Be Dinner, where the Simpsons travel to Rigel 7, the homeland of Kang and Kodos. The main reason why this was considered for the movie is mainly because they felt that it would have been cinematic, which makes sense as it was directed by David Silverman. However, Gene saw that it would have caused issues within the fans of the series, as it could have been seen as non-canon to the show, as King Kodos mainly stayed in those type of episodes, and it also featured a memory-wide plot, which more likely wouldn't go down with fans. Maybe it would have done better as a TV movie, or hell, even as a 1 hour or 2-part special. It would have gone down a bit better that way. But it seems like the only mention of an unused plot for the second film so far. Since then, we only got small mentions of a second film, such as in 2017 when the first film came out 10 years ago. David Silverman and Al Jean saying that the sequel was in early development, with reportedly again to be in development again from Fox in 2018 in August. At March of 2019, Disney officially bought 20th Century Fox and its assets, meaning the film will go under Disney's control instead of Fox. Matt Groening would say in July of 2019 that he has no doubt that Disney would more likely produce a sequel to the film. However, 2 years later, Al Jean would reveal that the production on the film would put on hold over COVID-19. He did say that it could either go to theaters or be a Disney Plus original movie, given how successful the show has been onto the server, and to Disney, it would have been a win-win no matter what. So, it's still uncertain on when The Simpsons will return to the big screen with a proper movie after 2007. While the show is set to have its 34th season later this year with over 750 episodes, it's hard to say when we're going to get a sequel. Though we know Disney is willing to make it, and despite it not doing well in the box office, the Bob's Burgers movie did get positive reviews from critics, and also had a short in cinemas planned for a Disney film, so maybe it could get a sequel soon in theaters or on streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and tell me your opinions about the film in the comments. Let's just hope I can get this up on July 27th, if I can.